coming towards the end of November and you can really tell that we're heading into winter. The weather is getting a lot colder. I can see my breath in the air today, and the leaves have started to fall off all of the trees. The ground is waterlogged at the moment, so there's not a huge amount of work I can do in the veg patch and down the allotment. So at the moment, it's just really about tidying up and getting ready for those really cold months ahead. So with changes in temperature, the trees have really started to drop all of their leaves. Now that is ready-made fertility for the garden. So I want to try and capture all of that and at the same time give a little bit of light back to my lawn, because that's just been covered by leaves. I'm going to rake them up and put them into the woodland area that's behind me. That way I can leave them out to start to decompose, but also they'll become a nice little habitat for insects and other creatures that need to keep warm over the coming months. So to clear up the leaves, I'm going to be using this leaf rake, and there's different types of rakes that you can use in the garden, but this one is particularly designed for clearing up leaves and clearing away any grass cuttings, those sort of things. And as you can see, you have a little handle on there which undoes, and it can tighten up or expand. And that way you can really get hold of a lot of leaves all at once. Now I finished scraping up all of those leaves and made a pile in the little woodland area behind me. That'll make a brilliant habitat for some creatures over winter. Hopefully that'll start to break down, but leaf mould, which is what's produced from rotting leaves, it takes a lot of time to produce. One way you can try and speed that process up is to lay out all of the leaves and go over it with a lawnmower, so there's more surface area for the leaves to start breaking down. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave that to rot down naturally, and I'll see what it's like probably early spring next year and decide what to do with it then. One of the other jobs I need to get done this weekend is sorting out my chickens. Now, if you've been watching this channel for over the years, you'll know that we've had chickens for a couple of years now. We started off with some bantams, which were a lovely little flock, but unfortunately they got eaten by foxes. We came out one day and found bodies strewn across the garden, and they'd broken into the coop. We then got another flock of bantams and added some broilers to that, which we grew from chicks, and they were going to be our meat chickens. Unfortunately, again, we had another fox attack and every single one of them died. They didn't even eat any of them, just killed them. So earlier this year, I did cover the coop with wire, and to make sure that there's no foxes could get into it. And we got 4 new chickens. Now, these are not bantam chickens, these are full-size chickens, so they are a little bit more disruptive and destructive than bantams, but they're brilliant layers. They're a cross between a Rhode Island Red and a West Sussex, and are so friendly. They're absolutely lovely. This is their first winter here, so I need to make sure that we've cleaned out all of the chicken coop and got everything ready and made sure they're okay, ready for winter. If you haven't looked after chickens and you're thinking of having some chickens in the future in your garden, there are some things you need to know. And one of those is that bird flu means that there's some rules we have to follow. Each year, because of migrating birds, we have to keep our chickens inside. They have to be netted to keep away from the wild birds, and they also need to have a covered area where their food and water is kept. That way, any feces from the migrating birds or wild birds do not get into their food supply. So we bought a relatively big netted area for our chickens a couple of years ago, and we're still using that at the moment. Another benefit of having chickens in your garden is you can eat their eggs and you can sell any surplus you might have. Now, this time of year they're slowing down and we're not getting as many eggs, so we're not selling any of them on. But you are allowed to, and you don't have to have a license for it. If you're going to sell into the commercial market, then yes, you do need a license. But if you're doing something called farm gate selling, which is effectively the end of your drive or to friends and family, you don't need a license. All you need to do is to put on the date the egg was laid, because they need to be consumed within 30 days. So I'm just going to check to see if we've got eggs, and we do. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eggs. So looking pretty good. You can see that some of them are a little bit dirty. They've got a lot of mud in their run at the moment, so it's just off their feet. That'll wash off and be absolutely fine. One of the things I haven't done for these chickens is clip their flight feathers. Now, chickens are ground birds. That means that they don't tend to fly like you'd expect a normal bird to, but they can jump with assistance of their wings, which means they can jump pretty high and potentially could get over the fence. So I need to cut these because I want the chickens to be able to roam around, be a little bit of free range before the restrictions come in because of bird flu. And that way, hopefully they'll be nice and safe in the garden here. So as you can see here, nice long flight feathers. So we're going to have to cut those because they will let them jump pretty high. Where did I put my scissors? Come on, birdies. That's it, come on. There we go. Now, we only do it on one side, and that's because this allows them to fly in a circle rather than just flying as normal, because if we cut both sides, they'll still be able to jump with their wings. Chickens aren't particularly hygienic and they tend to poop a lot where they sleep. So there'll be quite a lot of chicken feces within the coop. So I'm just scraping that out as best I can and letting that decompose in the main run. Next year, hopefully around springtime, I should be able to dig some of that soil out of their run and put it onto my plants. To give them some fresh bedding, I'm just putting some straw in. They'll mess that up, move it around and put it where they want it to be. So I'm not being too particularly careful with it. And I'm just putting plenty of straw into the nesting boxes. And that way, hopefully they've got nice dry nests to lay some more eggs in. Everything I take from my chicken run and coop is fertility for my garden. So when I clean them out, I take it over to my compost heap and it adds both green and brown materials for my compost. It really gives my compost that extra boost of fertility. In general, chickens are really good to add to anyone's garden where you're looking to produce your own food. It's a great companion to your veg patch because you can have a bit of a symbiotic relationship between the two where you get some fertility from the chickens and you can add that to your veg patch, and the scraps from your veg patch you can give back to the chickens for feed. So a really, really nice combination. They're also really easy to look after. They tend to look after themselves, and we have an automatic opener on the doors, so that goes up and down based upon a time. But that's really it. Just a bit of food, some clean water, and they keep producing you eggs. And in the summer, you'll have more eggs than you can manage. So definitely something I would encourage people to consider if it's something that you have space for. That's it for this week. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.